r/ask Reddit. Which brand has lost you as a customer? Progressive. A lawnmower hit my parked car during work last year and it was terrible dealing with Progressive. The claims agent I got stopped communicating with me after a certain point and I ended up having to hound the lawn mowing company's owner to pay for my car's repairs. Oh duck yes. I was a delivery driver for a few months when I was younger and had delivery driver insurance with them. After a few months I quit and cancelled my insurance, but they just kept charging me for it. When I noticed this I called them and they said okay, we will send you a check in the mail for the amount owed. I get the check, cash it and go about my business. A few days later the bank says hey, your check bounced. I call Progressive and their answer is we sent that by mistake and we never said we'd pay you anyway. I answered then why the hell did you send it to me? It was a mistake. Do you have a record of us saying we'd send it? I answered no and there was a long cat and mouse conversation where it came down to we're not comping you. I cancelled in that exact conversation. In most states writing a bad check is a crime. They probably claimed they wrote it in error and cancelled payment on it. That's not a crime as long as you didn't stop payment because of insufficient funds. It's just super shady. Expedia. God help you if they ever make a mistake on your booking. Their entire customer service infrastructure is designed to stonewall and frustrate you until you give up, even when the problem is clearly their fault. Oh gosh yes. We had so many bookings with Expedia that weren't actually booked and you only know once you're there. That one time I pushed them and they did an upgrade for messing up, but seriously I'd much rather have my vacations go smoothly than get an upgrade. We actually lost a couple hours every time it happened. Easily 3-4 times, and won't use Expedia anymore. DoorDash after learning about the whole tipping situation. Bank of America. Their ATM was down so I had to go in and deposit my check. Paid all of my bills and had pretty much no money. This was during college. And they hit me with a $10 service fee which overdrew my account. And then they charged me a $35 overdraft fee. So, $45 I didn't have because their machine was down. The person I talked to on the phone was a complete dong and I decided to get rid of my account right then and there. He then gave me an attitude about cancelling. Duck that guy and duck Bank of America. Nestle. As soon as I was old enough to realize what they do I hate them. Good luck avoiding everything they sell. It's more than just Nestle brand lol. Yeah I know. It's so ducking hard. If you take closer looks everything belongs to them. It is hard, but I try. It's an easy enough Google if you're unsure about who a brand's parent company is. By Kiehl's. Sprint. Recovering from surgery. Sedated in a hospital. Over 8 years ago, I had a pre-smartphone and no data plan. Accidentally pushed some sort of internet button that literally brought up Sprint's homepage. When the $450 bill arrived they refused to budge. I was within the 45-day cancel for full refund stage. This was a 2-year contract for my family of 6. I returned the phones and cancelled the agreement but they refused to waive the internet charge. After talking on the phone with an escalation call center for over 4 hours I agreed to pay but vowed they would never see another penny from me. One of a very small number of companies with a lifetime blacklist. I've paid my replacement carrier nearly $20,000 in the meantime. If Sprint ever merges with my carrier, they've tried a few times now, I will leave. If I go to a prepay network, I will research to make sure whatever I use is not a rented Sprint network. Not one penny. And I tell this story to anyone that will listen. I went in a Sprint store to cancel my family plan. My husband ported his number but I didn't as I wanted a new number on Verizon. I got a bill the next month. They didn't cancel my phone plan. When I called and complained they said I had no proof that I went and asked for it to be cancelled in the store. I talked to so many people and eventually someone accepted the fact that I hadn't used 1 minute of talk or data in the past month and that my husband's line was cancelled as an acceptable answer. They still made me pay like $25 and said they couldn't retroactively cancel my line but could make it inactive or something stupid that cost the fee. So annoying and dishonest. They badgered my buddy into taking an extra free phone he didn't need years ago. He was month to month at the time. 3 months later he goes to cancel and they tell him that he just started a new 2-year contract and the cancellation fee was $350. His accepting the free phone had enrolled him in a new 2-year contract. He got calls from them for months trying to collect their $350. I'd hear them offer to set up payments if he didn't have the full $350. He would tell them, "Oh, no, I have the money. I have tons of money. But I'm never, ever going to give you that money. Sue me if you want it that bad." It was hilarious to listen to. Spectrum. Worst customer service with a constant rising bill. Unfortunately some areas, like mine, are between that or AT&T, 100 Mbps versus 10 Mbps, only. Or areas like mine, where the choice is Spectrum or no internet at all. American Airlines. The explanation has been delayed for tomorrow or next year IDK or ducking care. Doug Parker has been the worst thing to ever happen to AA. I live in Dallas and I'm executive platinum with them and still get treated like shit. They keep retrofitting their aircraft to add more seats and less room and still have the nerve to tell us consumers that it's what we want. Their metrics are the worst in the industry. Parker will hopefully be tired Q1 next year when they miss their number horribly. Panera Bread. Almost $50 for a couple of small sandwiches and some soup. Most of the food is good, but not for that price. Panera is basically overpriced hospital food. Probably all pre-frozen shit anyway. Levi's. Since they went public the quality has dropped considerably. I stopped buying Levi because their fit and sizing became incredibly inconsistent. There shouldn't be a 2 inches difference in front rise between 2 pairs of pants that are the same style and size. I went from Levi to Uniqlo. Cheaper, self-edge, good return policy and the slim fit fits exactly like it's supposed to off the rack. I didn't know they went public until your comment. Very disappointing. Wonder what causes such an old company to go public all of a sudden. It's money, always money, and yes, their product has gone to shit. I had a pair of jeans that I studied I learned to wear which I bought when I was 19. I'm more than double that now. There are holes in the knees but they are really not in terrible condition. I have a pair I bought last year that already has a hole in the crotch. Wells Fargo. Our first mortgage was through them. After a couple years I get a call on the 2nd of the month telling me my mortgage was due. I told them I had until the 15th. They told me that was a grace period and their investors preferred I pay on the 1st. I told them I would make sure I never paid it before the 15th ever again and their investors could eat a bag of dongs. We paid the mortgage at 4:30 in the afternoon on the 15th, or closest prior weekday, for the next 5 years at the local branch which was a half mile from the house. Good times. My place of work got rid of the employee discount and it was just demoralizing. So, not buying there I guess? The last store I worked at didn't have an employee discount because we already offer the lowest prices. LOL. Home Depot? Yep. Good times at that godforsaken, chronically understaffed place. Victoria's Secret. They use a lot of cheap labor. Agreed. They also have really cheapened their quality and are at least 5 years behind on everything. KFC. After I got food poisoning so bad that I legit thought I was going to die. KFC I've noticed has no widespread quality standards. You go to one it's great, you go to another across town it's complete shit. I remember when KFC was by far the best fast food. Immediately after the Colonel died, it went to absolutely poop. The actual Colonel, not the new one every month. Crispy extra crispy, awesome mashed potatoes, great chicken and biscuits, good ole days. When he was alive he's randomly pop in locations and order, and if it wasn't to his standards he's give everyone their shit and make them stop working to show them how to properly make the food. Also fun fact, they do not use the original recipe at KFC. There used to be a place in town called The Pines that had the recipe and it was so good and not what KFC serves. Also, their gravy used to be so good. I used to work there back in high school and we made gravy from scratch by taking all the sludge from the bottom of the pressure cooker we used for original recipe and making gravy the way it's supposed to be made. Now, the gravy is clearly delivered from some factory and is a tasteless brown salt vehicle. Nothing more. Tastes like gravy from a hospital cafeteria, probably made by Cisco Systems. Ducking AT&T. EA and Activision mostly. If you put microtransactions, pay to play, or pay to win in your AAA game, $60 brand new, I will instantly avoid future purchases from you. I still try to support their subsidiaries, BioWare, Maxis, etc. But if even those games have it, then there is a 90% chance that I won't get it unless they truly are just selling extras and it doesn't impact the core game. Nestle, duck those African children poisoning, orangutan home destroying pieces of oligarchic filth. Skullcandy, their decent headphones are insanely overpriced and their cheap earbuds came apart in my ear and I had to go to the med center to have it all removed. WWE, Saudi blood money and the worst of the worst. None of the revenue they generate from their streaming service trickles down to their wrestlers. Duck that. I'm still shocked that they get away with treating the wrestlers as independent contractors. They can't take dates in other companies and work exclusively for WWE. They don't have health insurance. They have to pay for their own travel. They're on the road for 90% of the year. But McMahon keeps making money and people are still watching. DirectV is getting close. I like having DirectV. I especially liked how low my bill was for the last year. I got lucky and I know this. Well, time came where this ran out, and I called to negotiate more deals. For months now, I have been told to call back in a couple weeks to see if anything else exists. The last 3 calls ended with the representative telling me my bill was going to be a certain price moving forward. However, I am on bill number 3 since then, with the price hardly changing. I used to rave about their loyalty department, but it for sure is slipping lately. DirectTV here also. Happened 15 years ago. 2-year contract. Box messes up 1 year in. I call every 2 weeks. They tell me do this, then that. When it restarts it will be fixed. It was always the story of oh yes, they just rolled out an update. Of course they hang up on me before it reboots. I wasn't paying the cancellation fee. I am very polite on business calls, so I was still polite when contract was up and I called to cancel. They offered discounts to stay. I politely say no. Deeper discounts. Added bonus channels. I politely say no. Then they offered me a free box and I lost my shit on the rep. Told him had they kept their contract with me a year ago by giving me a new box then, keeping me with a fully functional unit, I would have renewed at full price. They could shove it. I would even return it at my expense. McDonald's. Totally. I'm a bit a hair older than most Redditors, so I remember vividly how great McDonald's used to be as a family dining experience back in the 70s. They had a simple, tasty menu that appealed to both kids and adults and the restaurant experience itself was dynamic and well themed. I even worked at one in high school in the 80s, and I consider that experience the solid foundation of my professional work ethic as an adult. Now McDonald's is just another low quality corporate everything to everyone nothing to nobody chain with a massive menu of themeless mediocrity. For the cost of their food, I could easily go to any local family owned restaurant and get a much better version as a sit down experience. In Europe, McD's is easily found from the highway, reliable Wi-Fi, clean bathrooms, playground for the kids, and a great cup of coffee for €1. The menu otherwise avoided. I sometimes forget they're a restaurant and not a top-tier, air-conditioned rest stop for me to comfortably catch up on emails. From my experiences in the USA, McD's are a relative disappointment. Angry employees and clientele. Thin coffee. A garbage place for the homeless to toilet. Disney. Not necessarily because they're any worse ethically than any other comparably sized corporations, but because I don't think we should have ever allowed one company to have this much influence over an entire industry. I try to avoid consuming any of their properties and certainly won't see their movies in theaters. Also Bethesda because of how they've been handling Fallout 76. I might pick up the next Elder Scrolls game if reviews seem good after it's been out a few weeks, but I'll never pre-order from them again. Movistar. Once they downgraded my phone on accident and later were unable to undo the downgrade because they can't replace a phone by another model and kept me waiting for 2 months until I said duck it and bought another phone. Probably too late to this thread and nobody will see it, but Airbnb. Stayed at a place and found fleas within 20 minutes of arriving. Told the owner of the house and he told us in writing he was going to give us a refund. We returned the keys to him. He called later and said he was no longer going to give us a refund. Having already gotten a hotel and not wanting to go back to a potentially angry person in their home, we went to support. Support sided with the owner of the house despite the written refund offer. I provided a timeline of events, Google Maps data, a photo of a flea on my sock and later several photos of flea bites. They said that they could not determine that the fleas came from that house. Screenshots of the refund offer. And there was even a group of people that stayed 2 days after us that left a review saying they also found pests in the house. And the house owner then cancelled every booking after that. Even with all of that evidence, they still sided with the owner. Paid $450 for keys to a place for an hour or less. It is now in my mind an unreliable company and I'll pay extra for a hotel just for peace of mind knowing it will at least meet a minimum cleanliness. If it makes you feel any better, I stayed at a Hilton Garden Inn in New York City that had bed bugs and the mother duckers wouldn't refund me either. I left them a negative review on TripAdvisor and I have no idea how they were able to delete that review. Radio Shack, Circuit City, Toys R Us, Blockbuster Video, Nestle. They cut the amount of cocoa they use in their chocolate and now it's waxy shit. Also, the CEO is a major dund. Fairlife Farms. I'm not bleeding heart. I'm a meat eating, beer drinking, tobacco chewing redneck. But after watching the footage captured at their dairy farms of the abuse those cows are put through for absolutely no reason, those dead calves, starved, beaten, it made me sick. There is no cause for what they do. Dairy farming can be a cruelty-free business, but these ranch hands delighted in the psychopathic cruelty they enjoyed dealing out. Fairlife is owned by the Coca-Cola Company. It's insane how many brands they own. There's a lot of brands to cut out if we want to boycott them completely. Ticketmaster. 0.00034 seconds after tickets go on sale. Sold out for all but Cosmically FR seats, but their subsidiary StubHub has them for 400% more, but you need to pay an oxygen fee, electricity fee, left turning fee, reach around fee before the fee to disclose fees. At least 50 shows that I've declined to go when I see that loathsome logo. Never ever going to pay them a dime. Probably a fee for that too. Edit. Thank you Gold Sender. No fee on that and appreciated. Edit note. Okay, StubHub isn't a subsidiary of Ticket Scamster, but they are a parasitic part of the problem of bogarting all the prime tickets for gen public. Lululemon. Although I was never a customer to start with. In short, I am a wheelchair user who applied to work for one of their satellite offices in suburban Vancouver and they cancelled my job interview because the office wasn't wheelchair accessible. I pointed out that wasn't right, so they relocated the interview to their head offices in Vancouver. It turned out that their head offices weren't wheelchair accessible either. There was no accessible parking. So I had to improvise and hope nobody parked close to my driver's side. Otherwise I can't get in out. I pushed my wheelchair down 4 floors down a parking garage, dodging traffic along the way, to enter through a freight elevator, which was locked by default. I did my best in the interview, and then pushed my wheelchair back up 4 floors. Thankfully the parking spot next to my driver's side was empty, so I wasn't stuck. At that point, I had decided I would refuse a job offer from them. If this was how I was to get to from work every day. I got a call back a few days later and they basically told me that I didn't get the job. And the reasons given were something like you don't have familiarity with our office culture and you lack the education we require for the position. Even though it was a call center and they asked for a high school diploma. I have a 4-year degree from Canada's number 2 ranked university. From that day on, I basically vowed never to support Lululemon in any way, shape, or form. This was back around 2011 or 2012. Levi's. After they closed their last American factory in 2003 and moved entirely overseas to abuse the power of cheap labor, not only did their quality control decrease to nothing, but their prices skyrocketed. A pair of Levi's today are nothing like the Levi's 20 years ago. Netgear. Buy one of their top-end routers and when you need to update firmware, their automatic process corrupts on download ridiculously often, thus completely bricking it. Rather than fix it or offer to replace or anything, they just say, oh, you should have done it manually, because that happens a lot. WTF kind of response is that? Ridiculous. Bugatti. Me too. 31 years old and have refused to buy a single Bugatti. Chase Bank. They held my mortgage during the crash, and when the government initially came out with the HARP program, it was available only to people who had overextended themselves. Chase sent out info about it and I asked what about if I'm current, and was told sucks to be you. Keep paying. So when HARP was open to everyone, I got a letter from Chase saying everyone can refinance now. I went to my local branch and started the process. I paid the fee to start the process and for an appraisal and some other stuff. Totaled about $1,700 if I recall correctly. They were going to do their thing and I was a great client, so it would all be super fast. No problems here. Will close within 30 days. Now I should mention I was starting a new job and had a break of about a month before my new job began. They wanted a letter from my new employer saying how much I made. Okay, seems reasonable. So I provided it, and then everyone I'd been dealing with at Chase went completely dark on me. No response to emails or phone calls and messages left. Going to the branch a few times to see the person I'd been dealing with got me she's in a meeting right now or other bullshit evasions. Managers were also mysteriously unavailable. My stated closing date came and went, after which I just quit calling. If that's what they call customer service, I guess I should be glad I was so cheaply quit of them, relatively speaking, at $1,700. But both Chase Bank and its parent company JP Morgan Chase can duck right off. I will never give them another dime of my money. Bethesda. They've been slowly cranking up the bullshit since Skyrim came out, and Fallout 76 has been a constant display of how little they actually give a duck about their customers going forward. They could announce a free blowjob with Elder Scrolls 6 and I still wouldn't buy it. It'd probably just be a buggy mess like everything else. Wafer. I was looking for a sectional and found one at a good price. The product page was a sectional. When I added it to my basket, it was a sectional. When I paid for it, my invoice said sectional. My confirmation email said it was a sectional. When I went to track the package, it magically turned into an ottoman. I called them and they said that they have to hold on to my money until the product was sent back to them. I understand that policy. However, they were the ones that messed up. They requested that I take a day off of work to accept the package. So there's more money gone. They also didn't honor the sectional price as the sale was over when I found out about the issue. This is the only time I ordered anything from them. Too long didn't read, ordered a sectional and received an ottoman for the cost of a sectional. Wafer declined to honor the sale price and held my money for 4 weeks until the ottoman arrived back to them. Starbucks. Was your typical Starbucks loving white girl. Loved my caramel frappes. Then I went on a trip to Nicaragua and Guatemala and we met a farmer who lost everything because the supplier for Starbucks kept lowering their wages and buying the coffee for less and less. I can't go into much detail because I don't remember too well, but I do remember how heartbreaking it was to hear. Starbucks treats coffee farmers in the global south like absolute shit. Of your $7 coffee, almost nothing goes to farmers. I also no longer go to any non-fair trade coffee places, but Starbucks was the first I boycotted. Gorilla Glue. Used a whole bottle to secure my gorilla to the floor, but he still escaped. Netflix. I'm sick of getting invested in their shows just to have them cancel them around the season 2 mark with no resolution. Amazon. I really don't buy online anyway, but hearing how greedy and awful Bezos is turns me off the company entirely. Bosch. I had Bosch dishwasher a few years ago and it set itself on fire at 5 AM. Luckily I was awake or me and my dad would have died. Our local McDonald's has lost my father as a customer about 6 different times. I will never buy Campbell's soup. When I was younger, I ate a bowl of their soup. Now, this is uncommon, but I am rather decidedly quite allergic to peas. We didn't know this at the time, of course. I ate the soup. It was pretty good. That shit put me in the hospital. My dad emailed them asking for a list of ingredients to their veggie base so that we could dodge feeding whatever was hurting me, and they responded, get a lawyer. I no longer will eat a bowl of Campbell's soup. North Face. Used to be pricey gear that held up. Now it's just pricey gear that falls apart. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.